as believers and we as sinners come to God for a cleansing, it's something that we want out of us. It's just something that makes us draw a clean to God. What makes us turn from our doings? What makes us turn from our sinful nature? Well, today's text is concerning the old being crucified. And I want to start by representing for Second Advent Baptist Church, and the Reverend Pastor Clement Hall is above that church, and we will continue to send out our prayers to that church, that God keep us uplifted and uprooted in the spirit, and may y'all continue to be blessed. Now, what does it mean that our old self was crucified? Well, it's times when we sit back and think about the times where we acted out, and times that we went about doing things that was not of God. See, we was in an unrighteous manner. We wasn't living for the righteousness, but we was in an unrighteousness manner. And there's times when I had enough. You know, there's a time to weep. There's a time to mourn. There's a time to be happy. There's a time to be sad. But it was a time that I just surrendered. I just got tired of the same old situation. You know, I just couldn't keep nothing that was of righteousness when I was living in sin. So God says that I'm giving you time to understand that you cannot keep on doing wrong. See, when you're out there making a way to provide for the family, you got kids to feed. You got something to keep up. So you're out there doing wrong, but you know it's not right. But how long are you going to continue to get away with this sinful nature? See, God says when you know that you're not in the right standard, it's time to get right. So how can we crucify the old and bring in the new? Well, the old self is the I who doesn't know, love, and trust the Lord. The self who thinks, wills, and acts in opposition to him. In baptism, God unites us by faith to Christ and kills this sinful self so it can no longer dominate us. God gives us his spirit, who supplies us with the will and power to know, love, and trust him, breaking the control sin had over us. You know, we're in situations when it's time to ask ourselves, have we received anything from God? If I ask you right now, have you received anything from God? And what would be your response? Will you say, I received something from God? I know I received something from God. Or you'll say, I haven't received anything from God. Some people don't receive nothing from God. And we wonder why we don't receive nothing from God. See, it's like having a heavens account. You can withdraw from that account, but you don't deposit in that account. So you can't keep withdrawing from an account if you don't deposit nothing in that account. So you need something to withdraw from. So how can we receive something from God if we're not giving nothing? So in this situation that I want to ask a lot of believers, Christians, what are you receiving from God? What are you giving? How much are you giving? And how are you giving it? Now, when the Bible asks us, what are we giving? We're not talking about money. We're not talking about gifts. But God is talking about your time. How much time are you giving him? How are you giving your time? And who are you giving it to? See, we all have a certain way of going by our regular routine. Every day we get up, you go to work, you come home, you may stop by a friend's house, you may stop by the store, you may just go do something outside the box. But who are you giving your time to? Majority of us as adults, we're giving our time to our job. A lot of us work more on the job than we stay in our own homes. A lot of us are working 2 jobs just to live. Well, God says, well, do you have time for him? So if you're not receiving anything from God, he says, now, what are you receiving? And what you now have is a reflection of your giving. So whatever you are receiving, and if it's nothing, then that's a reflection on your giving. But if it's something, then that's a reflection on your giving. So whatever you receive is like a reflection of your giving. So we have to understand that God will give us a reflection on our giving. If we do not acknowledge God and the power of God on what he can do for us, then it's hard for him to acknowledge you. He says to abide in him and he will abide in you. We as Christians have to know that we are dealing with the soul, the spirit, and the body. Each part has its own function. The spirit contacts and knows God. The soul contacts the electrical rhythm. The body contacts the material world. So in all these three parts of the spirit, soul, and body, who are we interacting with more? More of us are contacting the material world. The material world seems fun. The material world seems entertaining. The material world seems amusing. But the thing about it though is, sin is fun, but it will rob you. Sin will take everything that you accumulate, and you will be right back to square one. But see, when we have God, we keep the thing that he gives us, and we continue to live eternally in him. See, we have a decision to make. He asks us in the great book of Genesis. The Bible says you can choose life or death. And he tells you to choose life because he is life. So if we have a choice to make, whether you want to live or die, majority of us will say, I want to live. But who is ready to die? Right now is the time for you to be ready to die. Not physically die, but to get rid, to crucify the old and bring new. So I am ready for the old me to die and let God bring in the new me so I can be delivered and reborn as a Christian. And so it's time to crucify the old. I hope that this message touched a lot of you, and understand, without God, our works is dead. Stay in prayer and don't cease from praying. Give it to God and watch God take control over your life. It's time that we crucify the old.